Testing, testing. Matt, can you hear me? Testing, 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 testing. All right, I think we're ready. Matt, can you hear me? Let's see. Text. Oh, that's cool. All right, we ready? I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so today we're going to be working on some Mother's Day gifts. And what we've been starting to get into is automaton. So this is one that we found Great Maker online. I'll be putting his link in later so you can check him out. He makes these really great automated sculptures. And so we've put together one of his first designs that we were interested in. And today we're going to be taking this one apart and reassembling it with some other colors. And we're going to be making a few of these as Mother's Day gifts. So we're going to start by just taking some of these screws. These are 3D printed screws. We're just going to be taking these apart. So as we start to take this apart, some of these parts are just going to come loose and fall over. Just going to get all of these screws out so we can start putting our colored parts into our place. So we're going to keep most of the parts black on this one, but the actual bird parts here we're going to swap with one of the colors that we've prepared. So we've made these golden parts out of a silk 3D printed PLA. And so we're going to replace some of these black parts with their golden counterparts. And then we have a few other colorways that we're going to be doing over the next several days as Mother's Day gifts. Get an Allen key in here so we can take out the rest of these screws. And you'll just see parts starting to fall as we go. That's what's holding everything together, is these little 3D printed screws. Also, if you see up in the corner on the 3D printer, I'll switch over there for a sec. You can see here we have some of the other parts that we just finished printing. We'll be printing a bunch more of these gears, similar to these ones here, but just in some of our different colors. Find one with the head. I'm just trying to find an Allen key now that has a little bit of a nicer head like this one. It has this little ball at the end of the head. It makes it kind of helpful. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep on getting these screws out. swing off now. While we're doing this, I'm going to actually get another one of these prints started. So over here we have several of these parts kind of grouped into different categories. So these are the parts here that we just printed that you can see over on Prusa. Those are those same parts. So we don't need another set of those, but what we're going to do is we're going to start to print some of these guys over here. I'm just going to go ahead and activate this build plate. And then I'm going to use this arrange tool, which will arrange all the objects on that build plate. Get them kind of all clustered up near each other. And then I'm going to make sure that when they slice, we get all the right settings for them. So we have some parts here that have some support structure. Most of these parts can print without supports, but just these guys need some support, which you see in green. The only other setting I want to do here is to add a little brim to these, which will just ensure that they print without popping off the plate, because we were getting a few parts that were, while they were printing, there just wasn't enough kind of grip on the build plate, and so they were popping off. So I'm just going to put a little brim, which is kind of like the brim of a hat at the bottom of a top hat. It just makes it a little more secure when they're printing. So when I reslice this here, you'll see that each of those parts got a little green kind of loop around them. And it just helps them stabilize on the build plate. So over here on the printer, we're just going to pick up that build plate. And then we'll bring it over to the table. These are really nice build plates because they just flex. And all the parts just pop right off. A little more flex on both directions. And then, yeah, these parts just come right off. This one I canceled because it was failing. Luckily, there's a cancel print setting where you can just cancel a single part if you see it fail. So that's a little bit of a failure. Actually, we're going to reuse this plate. This plate I've just been getting a little better. Yeah. I usually do like the satin plates finish, but this smooth plate can get some better adhesion with this specific PLA, this white PLA, and that's from Printed Solid. I'll also be putting some links when this stream goes to a VOD, so you can see all those links to the different things that we've purchased. So Printed Solid is a new subsidiary of Prusa, and they're local, so we like being able to get from them. They make really good filament, but this specific one prints a lot better on that smooth plate. So I'm going to come back to this screen, and now that all those settings are in, we see this is going to be a several-hour print. So we'll just set this to go, and then we'll check in on it every once in a while during the stream, and then probably, you know, either later or tomorrow we'll have all those parts done and we'll show you. Go ahead and send this over. And jump over to the Prusa, and it will take a few minutes. Kind of goes through a little bit of a startup process, just warming up everything and doing a lot of checks, and kind of calibrating. It'll check the bed leveling and all that kind of stuff, just to make sure we get a nice clean print. So we'll check on that in a few minutes. I'll keep it up in the corner so you can see what it's doing. We'll come back to disassembling this black one. Get a little closer so you can see some of this. So I'm just loosening up these screws with this Allen key, just enough that I can get them by hand. tighter than others because we started printing with them with a lower resolution at first, just to try to save some time. So lower resolution parts print a little faster, but then we saw that they were getting a little sticky when we threading them together, so we started printing them at a little bit higher resolution. It takes longer, but gives us easier parts. So that's why some of these screws are sticking a little more than the others. And in the future, we're thinking about, instead of just printing them and fusing them straight, running them through some tappers. So some metal tappers that are made to use metal screws. We'll kind of just carve the threads and make them a little smoother as they screw into each other. I'll give you guys a little bit better view of this print. Just going to angle this up a little so you can see the bed a little better. We're competing with some daylight right now, but you'll still be able to see that print once it starts out. Alright, we almost got this piece loosened up here. Got one more screw where this wing was attached. lift off this half. Almost. Just going to loosen up this screw on this side as well. I'll try pliers if I can get a little bit better grip on these. Yeah. Couple more screws here, and this whole thing is going to come apart. In the future, we'll be designing our own ones of these, and we're going to make these screws instead of with a hex on the inside for an Allen key. We're also going to make a hex on the outside, just so that these are way easier to get on and off. So we're going to be making a lot of these and swapping a lot of parts out. And we want to make sure this process is a lot easier. So we're making more and more. There we go. Just the two halves of the bird. We'll have some parts that'll kind of fall out. And these gears, some of these bushings, have to kind of collect and assemble. But we got that part. Now we can start putting it together with these golden pieces instead. And I think this black and gold design is going to be really nice. It's a contrast to purple and white. We'll switch over for a second. You can see the printer over here is starting its leveling process. So it's just going to take a probe point various places on the bed just to see any little surface variations on the bed if it needs leveling. And it's going to reverse engineer those into the print to make sure we get a nice, clean, smooth print. So that process usually takes a few minutes depending on kind of how much of the bed is occupied, which is a decent portion. So it's going to take probably like 60 to 100 or so probe points just to make sure that we have a really nice, level, even bed. Alright, so we still have the base of this assembled, and that's kind of the starting point for this, is this base. Right, and that's that it has a lot of the gears and also has the motor right here, which is going to drive it. I actually have a new adapted base that we're going to be printing out over the next couple of days, so you can tune in during the week and you'll be able to see this be updated. Slightly larger base that also has a little kind of channel for this and for all the wiring. So what we're going to do is get these to be able to move on their own just by plugging them in. Right now you can see if I pull this out, we'll be able to see a little of how this moves just by hand. But we definitely want this when we give it as a gift to be able to move on its own and move nice and smooth with that motor. So eventually we'll be putting this back in with our new base, which I'll show you in a few minutes. But for right now, I'm just going to set that motor aside and we'll start reassembling the bird. So we're going to go with the gold bird, and then put the black bird aside, and we'll be reusing that later on for another design, another colorway. But for this one, we really want to have the body of the bird and the wings of the bird, basically the whole kind of organic part of the automata or automata be in this nice gold color. So here we have the two halves of the body and the wings. So we'll be setting aside these black parts for now. Here we have the tail. And so now we can start reassembling this. So we're going to grab kind of our main screw here, which is the one we have the most of. Get a shot of that. So we're going to be putting several of those into the side of this, and then through these little spacers. So first this screw is going to go through one of the holes, like so. And this spacer is going to go right on that screw. We may replace these with gold ones as well, but for now I'm just going to assemble it with these black screws. See that our print over here has started. Let's see if I can get you a little bit of better angle on that. I'm going to run over there. So we're competing a little bit with the sunlight coming in through that window. That's definitely something I'll want to adjust for next time. But you can still see some of those parts starting to be printed out on the bed. Right now it's printing out all the skirts. I mean the brims that we set up earlier. And those will just make sure as it's actually printing the final part that there's just a little kind of support to keep it from popping off. Actually got to save this one for later because this is going to be one of the ones that's going to get a gear, I believe. I'm just going to take that one back out for now. And that one can instead go right into this hole. On that spacer. We got to do, I think, 2 more of these for now. And leave these bottom 2 because that's actually going to hook into this base later on. So I think we got all the screws and spacers in there. So now we can start to put in some of the other parts that lead to those gears. So we're going to grab, I believe we need one of the bushings. And it's actually partially assembled here still from the original. So that's just going to pop right into this hole here, this kind of sub-assembly. And then on the outside of that, we're going to get one of these, and this is what's going to support the wing. So as this turns, the wing will be flapping back and forth because of that motion. screw for this as well, just to lock in that part. I believe actually one of these. Now this can spin without falling off there. And we'll be doing the same thing on the other side in a moment. So now I need to get the rest of the gears along these, because that's what's going to be driving that wing gear. So just going to drop these all on those spacers. And now this whole system can move. So now that we have that, we can start to attach this other fascia onto here. Link this whole thing together. So we're just going to drop this other piece that holds the wings on. We want to make sure that when we do this, that those little nubs on the side that's going to actually support the wing motion, we need to make sure those are aligned with each other. So we need to see that kind of facing in the same direction, which can be a little tricky here. I'm just going to try to move this one to the very top, so it's pointing right up towards this other screw. That way I can match that on this side. Just try to keep the whole thing aligned. There we go. So now as one of these turns, it's going to make sure the other one stays in place with it. It's a little hard to see here. There, you can kind of see it. So these stay in sync. That way the wings are both flapping at the same time. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of this screwed into those spacers. I think today we will probably just get this body assembled on here, and then we'll come back to this tomorrow. We'll have more parts printed, and we'll assemble those wings and get it on the base. But I just wanted to start today introducing this project to you, showing you a little bit of the assembly, and just explaining kind of some of what we're doing. And we'll get deeper into this process during the week, ramping up for Mother's Day, to be able to give these out as some gifts for the mothers in our lives. I'm just going to do a few more screws now. Oh, wrong one. And then we'll be able to join again tomorrow and show you the next round of process on this. this last one for right now. I'm going to save these for later. And then you can tune back in tomorrow. We'll probably be doing a little bit of an earlier stream tomorrow. Something more like late morning time. Maybe around 10 or 11 Eastern Standard. So if you're around and you want to check that out, we'll be here. But if you've been watching, thank you so much. And we will be continuing this automata making process this week and being able to make many, many more of these in the future. Here you have a little preview of some of this working already. And we'll see you next time.